Greetings from Local Gems Poetry Press. I'm James P. Wagner, the publisher for Local Gems, and welcome to our The Publisher Speaks series. In these videos, we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the books that Local Gems puts out, a little bit of the history behind them, and why, from the publisher's point of view, we feel these books are important. In fact, today I'm actually going to be talking about what I consider to be the first book of our individual author series, which later went on to have quite a few, and quite a few more are coming. Because in the beginning, we originally only did anthologies, and then the wall came down for individual authors, so to speak. And this book I'm about to talk about had a really big impact on that, and it's called Monster of 59 Moons and Other Poems by Marc Rosen. Now, some of you who've been following Local Gems for a while might already know that Marc Rosen was my co-editor on Perspectives, Poetry Concerning Autism and Other Disabilities, which went on to get submissions from 4 different continents, and then went on to have a sequel that got submissions from 5 different continents. And the reason that Perspectives came about was both Marc Rosen and myself had very strong opinions about autism, and we wanted to give the people out there to have a venue so that they could write their poetry about it. The thing that usually happens when we come up with an idea for an anthology that isn't approached to us is us at Local Gems, we sort of write what we call the vanguard poems ourselves, and that usually spawns an idea for an anthology. And my vanguard poem for Perspectives was His Disability, as some of you might have heard. Marc Rosen's was Monster of 59 Moons. And it was a poem entirely about personal experiences that he had when he was only 5 years old, of him coming to the realization that he was autistic and thereby being different. And the poem itself was so heart-wrenching and moving that it was one of the most well-received poems out of the entire Perspectives anthology, really out of the whole Perspectives series. And everybody who heard it, it brought people to tears. It brought, it really hit people right where it really matters. And so we started getting lots of commentary on that poem. And then the question started coming around is, when is Marc Rosen coming out with his own book? And at this point, this was when we were still into doing anthologies, and we hadn't really given a lot of thought into individual authored books. I had actually come out with one of my own recently before that, and so I approached Marc Rosen with the idea that, why don't you put together a collection of your own poems? He'd been writing enough. He'd been going to publishing in several anthologies, going to readings, consistent basis, had been a featured reader several times, not even in association with Perspectives, and he kept coming back with the idea that he didn't feel he had enough poetry that really wove together into anything that could be a conceivable book. So I asked him to send me a bunch of his poems, and I would try to do what I can to string them together into a manuscript. And looking at his poetry, the big thing that I could find was one of the common themes that he had, as the reader of his book can tell in his poems. Monster 59 Moons, obviously, nothing, what, some say, shiny, take a picture, to my now former employer, and so many other poems. A general theme that he seems to have is somebody who's from the outside looking in, and having grown up under his specific circumstances, being on the autism spectrum, being a member of the LGBTQ community, and he's grown up feeling not exactly a part of what society expects from people. And it's a point of view that I felt was very important, because it's one that the mainstream media has a tendency to overlook. And the great thing about Marc Rosen is that, as a person, for anybody who knows him personally, he is a close personal friend of mine, but he's not apologetic for being on the outside. He doesn't make excuses. He kind of wears his differences as a badge so that nobody can use them against him, really. And he's not apologetic for being different, and he says things how he sees them. And so another benefit of the book Monster 59 Moons is it is not only a testament of the world from the views of a supposed outsider of mainstream society, but it is a book that is completely genuine. The emotions from high to low, hilarious to heart-wrenching, are completely and utterly 100% genuine. And anybody who's ever felt like they've been on the outside of anything, anybody who's ever felt the slightest bit different, as I think we can all say we all have at some point or another, can really connect with certain instances in the book. And anybody who happens to be part of the autistic community in particular, they really connect with the poetry in this book. In fact, Monster 59 Moons has gone on to be at tables at autism conferences at Hofstra University. It's gone on to sell at the Naturally Autistic Anka People's Awards up in Vancouver. It's gone pretty far as poetry collections go, especially individual authors. And everybody who has gotten a hold of a copy and read it, they always send in their letters and their commentary saying how much the book moved them, how the title poem in particular really made people feel like you know, they knew him. They felt ridiculous sympathy and empathy, and they couldn't believe that some of the true instances from the book actually happened. And I think one thing that we can all learn from the book itself, as the publisher's commentary here, is that the monster, so to speak, as he was called when he was younger for being different, is not a person, and it is not being different that is the monster, but the monster is whatever base instinct it is in human nature itself that makes us push people outside. And so if you want to find out more about Monster, 59 Moons, and other poems, you can click the link below. You could go find out more about it. There should be some reviews on the website, and I encourage all of you to take a closer look at Marc Rosen's work, because it is work from the heart, from a unique perspective, and a perspective that we as a society cannot afford to overlook. So I want to thank you all from Local Gems for tuning in today to see our episode of the Publisher Speak series, and keep checking back at the YouTube channel, because we're going to be having more of these episodes and talking more about some of the books that we have done. So keep posted. If you go to the website and sign up for our newsletter, you can find out everything about Local Gems. So take care.